Hey guys, welcome back to yet another video. Today we are talking about what I take with me backpacking and what changes I've made to actually going backpacking successfully. One thing that I think is super important, as well as a lot of other people who are backpacking or people who are veterans, is on hikes you have to take care of your feet. You have to treat them well. You have to have an extra change of socks or two just in case your feet get wet or sweaty. You don't want to get gangrene of the foot, which is a pretty bad infection and usually leads to amputation. But you also do not want to get a trench foot, which is when your foot becomes too wet or is wet over a longer period of time, or it's sweating too much and that moisture doesn't have a way to get out. And it's basically if you stick your hand in water or you're taking a bath or swimming in the pool or ocean, your skin will soak up the water due to osmosis and diffusion, mainly osmosis, and it will prune your hands pretty badly. And if you don't have proper foot care or the right footwear for the environment that you're working in or you're hiking in, it can lead to some pretty significant situations. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was working at a car dealership. A little story time here, and it was very, very cold considering it was January, and I was wearing my combat boots at the time from the Marines at the car dealership with a decent pair of socks, usually my Marine socks, which those don't hold heat very well whatsoever. And they're not waterproof at all. So I went to REI and I picked up a pair of these oboes boots. I do hike with these in the winter because they are very, very waterproof. They're also very ventilated, given that it's a boot style shoe. And I also use these whenever I'm going to be in muddier terrain. Hiking with these very often led to a lot of hip issues because these are about a pound a shoe, a pound a boot. So basically just having two of these, obviously for 2 feet, one of these if you got 1 foot or 1 leg, it can get pretty hefty and it hurt a lot. It hurt my hip flexors quite a bit. I could feel them stiffen up after mile 2 or 3 usually, and then by the time I'm at mile 5 it's damn near excruciating and I have to stop for the night, or I have to stop and take a break for a while and stretch out and drink plenty of water. What also goes along with that, the fact that I don't really have any cartilage in my left hip at all, so that's another big part of it. But these are wonderful boots if you're looking for something that's more waterproof and very durable. It's got great shock absorption, great tread. I've had these for 2 years now and they've lasted so far very, very well, nowhere near the end of their life. But for hiking, for me, in the summer, it's not the greatest boot. So I went to REI recently, and I haven't even worn these on a hike yet. These are so new. I think it was yesterday I picked these up, maybe the day before. And I picked up these Salomon X Ultra 04s, X Ultra 4s. These are significantly lighter, but these are also waterproof. They have a very good shock absorption structure. They've also got this like flank. Firefighters' boots will have them. They've got flanks in the bottom of the shoes, which makes them basically rock-proof, stab-proof. Let's see here. I don't recommend doing this, but I'm gonna take this knife and just put some pressure on it so you guys can see. Just right here. Zoom in a little bit more. If you guys can see that halfway all right, let's go ahead and just start to push that. It's not going in very well at all. I mean, it's piercing the rubber just a bit just because it's a sharp edge, but no rocks, no points, no glass. You're not going to feel anything through that. And what I love about this too is that even when you're hiking, these are still pretty bendy. You can still bend these up pretty quick, pretty good, which is great for flexibility. These are very rigid. You can't bend the sole of these. You can't really twist it that much. Like, I'm putting a fair bit of force in these and they're holding up very well. Another big feature I like about these is the fact that they are cinch. Now the downside with the cinch is when you have it tied, well, obviously it's not going to be that tight. Just to be sure you guys can actually see this. So with the cinch, as soon as you have it down, you got to cinch down. There's a pocket right here. You can see my fingers going in there. That is where the cinch actually sits. So you got to cinch down, which is a little difficult to reach in some certain circumstances. But you can just wrap it around your finger, pull your finger out, just like I'm doing here. And I'll tuck it up here underneath the Solomon logo at the top of the tongue. And now it's tucked and out of the way. Now, if that's a little more difficult for me to work with, I will often just tuck it down through the laces and just kind of weave it down. But these are very nice. I haven't worn them on a hike, like I said. I have worn them around walking Zeus. I've tested the waterproof ability just in my sink, and it does seem to do pretty well. But I'm going to do a full review on these in the future as soon as I've had some hikes and camping done with these. For socks, in the winter, I will use Smart Wool mountaineering socks. They're very warm, very cushiony, very comfortable, and they're very moisture wicking. Your feet aren't gonna stay sweaty for very long when they do start sweating. I know we have my pack up behind me, so we're gonna get into the exterior of the pack first. Now, the first thing I wanna talk about is sleeping pads, or the second thing I should say is sleeping pads. What do I use when I really wanna have a more comfortable camp? I'll typically just take this guy. It's a little more heavy, but it's inflatable and it's very comfortable to sleep on, and Zeus loves to snuggle up with me on this. It does come with a bivalve, which is what I call it. I don't know what it's actually called, but you pull it out, you flip it over, you can inflate it by blowing, and then when you flip it back over, you can roll it up and deflate it nice and easily, so all the air stays out as you're rolling it up, which is super helpful for actually putting it up and storing it. Now, it does also come with the bag. However, I do not use the bag with it because that's an extra few ounces. And yes, I've actually started counting my ounces when it comes to preparing for a trip, because the less, the better. The longer I can go, the less stress on my hip, which is everything that I want. So it did come with this little strap here. It is Velcro, and you can just use this and pull it tight, and it will stay put very, very well. And to save space in my pack, this will usually go under the header of the pack instead of on the bottom because it's not that wide. Now, I did want something even lighter than what this is, because this is just under a pound, I do believe, maybe 14 ounces, 15 ounces or so. This is the Nemo Switchback sleeping pad, and this is very, very, very light. This is less than a half a pound. It's probably right around 8 ounces, maybe 10 at the most. But it's not very comfortable, but it does the job for insulation. Now, this is an R value of 2. This is an R value of 3.3. So combine these two together, which I don't know if it'll actually work that way. You get an R value of 5.3, which is very good. That's on par with very insulated sleeping pads. But again, I don't know if that will actually work in the winter. I'm going to try it on a one-nighter to see how well it fares. But being a R value of 2, and it's easily carried, it doesn't weigh hardly anything. You've got 2 sides to it, one silver side and one orange side, so that allows you to know, hey, I need more reflective. I can hang this on something and the heat will bounce off the reflective side, or I can use the orange side and my body heat will be absorbed into this side instead of reflecting off of it. Therefore, it's going to keep me warmer as well. I like my little plant. I love it. They help brighten up the room, don't they? Okay, jumping into the actual backpack. Hydration's very important, and I made the mistake the last hike of filling this up all the way with 2.5 liters of water. That was a fuck ton of a mistake. They got heavy real quick. It was probably around 5 pounds of water, and I won't make that mistake again. So yeah, not gonna happen. Ooh, top rack safe. I didn't know that. You can wash this in the dishwasher. I definitely won't be making that mistake again. I'll usually put maybe a liter, maybe half a liter in here at a time, especially if I'm going on a hike and I know I'm just going to be sipping as I need, because it's not good to chug water on a hike. You can make yourself throw up, and you can also give yourself, what's the term? It's basically when you get drunk off water, your cells start to explode. Marathon runners will often get it because they drink water so often when they shouldn't. So here is a cook kit, and oh no, here's my cord kit, and in this I'll keep my toiletries. I have my trowel, some toilet paper in one bag. I'll keep my fire kit, which I've got, this is a fun thing I mentioned in my last video. Dryer lint is a phenomenal fire starter. It burns the outside first, but it will continue to ember on the inside. So if you just open it up a little bit more, you'll get even more flames, but it does burn the outside quite a bit. So you're going to want to have to move it around or break it apart and brush it apart pretty well. And it often doesn't smell that great because if you have hair, you're going to have hair in your dryer lint. So sometimes it does stink, so you want to give it a few minutes or maybe 20 minutes to actually burn through. I also keep my flint in here for that, and just in case it's super wet and I can't get a spark for shit, I'll take my lighter with me. And something I've started doing recently is to help lighten the load, because this flint does weigh about 4 ounces, which is a fair bit of weight for a flint and sparker and a piece of metal. Is I'll actually wear this around my neck. So I made a little loop here, and it goes down pretty low, about almost to my belly button, so I can just kind of hang out there. And if I need it, I can just pull it and use it, and then we're good to go. Just wrap that back up. I keep most things in plastic bags because it helps keep weight flow. And yeah, as for food, during the summer will typically use prepackaged MREs from like REI or Walmart, or I'll go to a local military supply store, surplus store, and I'll buy MREs, but those don't taste very good, and they're also not very good for you. I've got a little folding saw. This is a Silky F100, 7.5 inch. And this works well for just maybe sawing up some quick firewood. I used it a lot my last trip, but it works very well. It's a little rattly, however, there are some benefits to it. It's got 2 extensions, so you can get a little bit more of an angle here if you need to, or you can just click that back down and catch it in the normal angle. I like using this. This will normally be in my pocket whenever I'm off finding firewood, dead standing, anything that's already dead and laying down. So I can just chop it up if it needs to be carried in 2 or 3 pieces. If it's awkward to carry as one giant piece, I can just pull this out of my pocket, and it's about small enough to fit in my back pocket of my hiking pants. And then, of course, my cordage. I do use reflective cordage for my camp, so if I have to pitch a tarp or I have to tie things down and I have cordage or my paracord flying across camp tree to tree, I don't walk into it. Plus, if I'm off hiking and I need to find my way back to camp at night, my headlamp will illuminate this stuff like crazy, and then that's exactly where I know where I'm going to be. Next up is just my pillow. Just an inflatable pillow. Got a valve in here. It's a light pillow. Here's the rain fly for my tent. An extra water reservoir, so if I need to find a way to transport water, I can just fill this up. Or if I need to get water out of a creek. Now I did here, and I did find out pretty quickly on my last trip, that these don't fill with water very easily. These are absolute shit. But if you need a way to carry a little bit of water at least, this will work halfway decently. Now, my cook kit is in this. It's mostly in this right now, because I picked this up at REI the other day, and the same day I bought my shoes, and I've been needing to get something. This doesn't weigh as little as the pan that I normally used to cook stuff, but I also never really used that pan, and I was tired of having all of my cook shit just strung about in my backpack. And I also was tired of having to replace Ziploc bags because my fork kept going through the cook kit, or my cook bag, I should say, for plastic bags. So I picked this up for like $25, maybe like $21 or something. It's how much does this weigh? 13 ounces with the lid. It comes with a little adjustable handle here, which is super, super useful. You can't really hang it. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but I don't think I will anytime soon because it's not much to hang on with that clearance of that. Unless I can find a stick. I mean, you guys can take a look at that right there. There's not that much to hang on right there. So, in the cook kit, I have 2 bowls, one for my food or water or oatmeal or whatever I'm cooking. I've also got a fork, a screw, or a corkscrew combo thing I bought from Walmart years ago. It's Ozark Trail. It's easy to use, simple. I've also got a can opener because I do bring about 1 can of tuna on every trip just in case I'm hungry. Fuck, Zeus's ears just went straight up. Another very important thing is water treatment. So if you don't have a way to boil water, or you're just on the go and you don't want to make a fire and boil water wherever you're at because you don't want to, I don't know, scar any rocks or land, or you just don't have the time to sit and start a fire to boil water and watch it boil, you can get one of these guys, which is just a water treatment, a filter thing. The flow goes towards this way. You can see it on, this flows down. If I can get it to focus on this and not my face. Great, there we go. It flows down, so you know exactly which way the water needs to be attached. And the cool thing about this is you can unscrew the top of this, and this is just a squeezed bag. You can literally just screw this in here. You got your water in here, you squeeze it just a little bit to get it going, or you can just do a gravity drip, which with this pouch it will take a fat freaking minute to get a good drip. So I prefer just to give a gentle squeeze. You don't want to squeeze it to the point where you bust the filter. And if you're camping in the winter with one of these, remember to sleep with this in your sleeping bag, because if it freezes, it's busted and you have no way to get clean water until you can boil something. So you want and you'll need to sleep with this in your sleeping bag in the winter, or at any point in time where the weather could drop below freezing, because it's always a risk, especially in the early spring, actually whole spring and whole fall. Almost done here. Got my tent. I do use the Groundbreaker 2-person tent, which is a car camping, not so backpacking tent, but it's what I could afford for this time in my life. I got 2 plates, which I'm actually going to remove to save weight. I won't be using any plates in the time coming. And I've also got my my sleeping bag, which is I got my tent stakes in here too. Those are very important. Which is a Kelty Cosmo 40 degree down sleeping bag. I chose the Kelty 40 degree down sleeping bag because it's super light, it's super compressible. You can take it till really like 35. I like to sleep colder at night anyway, so I will take it to about 35 degrees. But at 35, I'll start to have a fire going at all times. But 40 is its really lower limit, but I do like to sleep a little colder, like I said. Colder the better for me personally. Like, I sleep at 65 degrees in my apartment, so it just says a little bit of something about me. And if I were to keep like a 60 degree down sleeping bag, I just don't know if I would be happy spending that amount when I have something that can handle that and I can just keep a leg out. But guys, that is everything I use for my bag. If there's any topics you would like to see, feel free to leave in the comments below. I would be more than happy to talk about them with you and to give my best advice for gear or advice in general for backpacking. There's one other thing that I do keep in my car for personal protection on most days, and that is a hatchet. I do not currently own a firearm. As soon as I get a firearm, that will be in my car for personal protection, but I'm not so worried about people stealing hatchets than I would be about stealing a firearm. So that's currently in my car, and I do use that hatchet on backpacking trips as well. I don't remember where I got it. I think it was Ace Hardware. It wasn't very expensive. I've been looking at getting a better hatchet or an axe to use on my trips, especially since I'm kind of more interested in bushcrafting things nowadays, which when I get into bushcrafting, I'll be using an entirely different setup because I'll leave my sleeping pads at home and I'll just start to pull in brush as a something to sleep on in the winter as my insulation. But thank you guys for watching this video. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, feel free to come back for more. I would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you have a good day. Thanks for watching again, and goodbye.